Yes. All right. Good morning. My name is Jess Langer. My pronouns are she, they. For a quick physical description, I am a young white woman with brown hair. I'm wearing a tan shirt today, and I am an outreach and advocacy specialist with the Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging, part of the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission. I am joined today by my colleague, Brenda Schaefer-Pellinen, who is managing technology behind the scenes. We'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining us today for our session on community gardens for all ages, growing together, growing stronger. Before we get started, we'll go through a few housekeeping items. We have arranged for American Sign Language interpreters who will be present throughout the session. These interpreters will rotate every 15 minutes, ensuring that everyone can follow the content effectively. We are recording today's webinar, including the ASL interpretation, and the recording will be available on our YouTube channel for later viewing. Whether you're with us live today or catch up later, you'll be able to engage with the material in a way that works for you. I also encourage you to subscribe to our channel so you're notified when new videos are added. And we have lots of other recorded videos you can watch. We are always looking for suggestions for future webinar topics or speakers, so feel free to send those ideas to us. Brenda will drop her email address in the chat. Please keep your microphone set to mute. If you experience any issues with bandwidth or audio quality, it often helps to disable your camera. If you'd like, please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Share your first name, your organization or community that you're joining from, what you're hoping to get out of today's session, and how you heard about it. We love knowing who's in the room with us. If you have questions during the session, please enter them in the chat. Because we want to make sure questions are answered thoughtfully, we may coordinate follow-up responses from our presenters via email, but we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. At the close of today's session, a brief evaluation will pop up in your browser once you leave. Please take just a moment to complete it. Your feedback helps us greatly in planning our future sessions. And one more quick reminder, encourage you to visit our Facebook page and our website at arrowheadaging.org for more information about upcoming sessions and resources for older adults and caregivers across our region. Next slide. About the Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging, the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission is designated by the Minnesota Board on Aging as the Area Agency on Aging for our region, under the authority of Title III of the Older Americans Act. The Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging is committed to helping older adults maintain their highest level of independence. Area agencies on aging are regional organizations that connect older adults and their families to the services, supports, and information they need. Minnesota has 7 AAAs across the state. The Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging serves a 7-county region in northeastern Minnesota, including Aiken, Carlton, Cook, Itasca, Couchiching, Lake, and St. Louis. The Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging is committed to helping older adults maintain their highest level of independence. And we will move on to the next slide. I will read our land acknowledgement. As we support our mission to help older adults maintain their highest level of independence, we do this while being respectful of the space we are being welcomed into by Indigenous people. We strive to deepen our understanding of the multiple ways in which people see and understand land and acknowledge the Indigenous people who have relationship with this land. We also acknowledge the decades of historical trauma, loss, and grief experienced by Indigenous people. It is our promise to not only recognize these truths, but also take action to show support of our Indigenous elders, neighbors, and friends, and understand our place within the past, present, and future of this land. We know this is just one step in recognizing and honoring the sovereignty of tribal nations. Next slide. So community gardens are more than just places to grow fruits, vegetables, and flowers. They are spaces that bring people of all ages together, foster healthy living, and strengthen neighborhoods. Today, we're going to explore the power of community gardening to connect generations, improve well-being, and build a stronger sense of community right here in our region. We have three wonderful presenters with us today and a great conversation ahead. Our first presenter is Meghan Redmond, Associate State Director for Community Engagement with AARP Minnesota. In her role, Meghan establishes strategic community partnerships and designs engagement opportunities focused on caregiving, financial resilience, and livable communities at both the local and state levels. She earned her BA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and holds a Master of Public Affairs from the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota. Today, Meghan will present on the AARP publication, Creating Community Gardens for All Ages. Meghan, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I think we could just maybe move to the next slide. Perfect. So AARP leads a national effort to help communities become more livable for people of all ages. We support this work by partnering with local leaders and providing evidence-based resources to guide decision-making. So since 2012, AARP has led the age-friendly network in the United States, which was developed originally by the World Health Organization. And the network gives communities, I would say, a structured but very flexible way to process their strengths and identify priorities in terms of making meaningful long-term improvements. When a community joins our age-friendly network, they commit to a 5-year cycle of planning and action. So it's through that process that they work towards becoming recognized as an age-friendly community. And so when a community joins the age-friendly network initially, it's not that they are all of a sudden appointed or they are not assigned the age-friendly designation, but it's through the process that they become age-friendly. And a key part of this work is intentionally engaging older adults and understanding their needs and experiences. And what we consistently see is that when communities are designed to support older adults, they become better places for everyone. So AARP supports communities along the way through research and toolkits that we've developed and pulling real life resource sharing and examples from across the country. So when communities are a part of our network, they're not necessarily doing all of this work from scratch, that we are here to support them and really act as kind of a technical support advisor. And I think one of the most important things with our age-friendly work too is that it really is about flexibility, in that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. Every single community is different, and so when they go through their assessment phase, they are creating a plan that is specific to them and is dependent on their local needs, assets, and priorities. I think we can move to the next slide. So a little bit more about our age-friendly network in Minnesota. We have about 33 communities, I believe, now. And so you can kind of see them regionally on the slide up in the Arrowhead, Northland area. And then we have a handful in central Minnesota, the Twin Cities, Metro, and then southern Minnesota. And there is a continued growth. I started working for AARP in 2012 or 2013. And we have definitely had a much quicker pace over the last few years in terms of communities joining the network. And it's great when we also see, clusters of communities across the state. They then start kind of connecting and working together as well. We have about 5.7 million people in the state of Minnesota. And if you look at the total population of all of our communities, there's about 1.8 million people living in an age-friendly community in Minnesota. So I like to say we have about a third of our population living within an age-friendly community. And then nationally as well, so we have about 33 communities in Minnesota. There are over 1,000 communities that are enrolled in the age-friendly network nationwide. You can move to the next slide. Okay. So our age-friendly network is built around the 8 domains of livability: Communities use these domains as a guide to organize and prioritize their work. So these domains cover everything from outdoor spaces and transportation to social participation and health services. The key is that livability is multi-dimensional and that everything is connected. So sometimes we talk about some of these domains, I think in silos, but it's important to understand that how our transportation and housing options can either limit or expand our ability to connect with family and friends or to connect to green spaces or essential services that we have in our communities. And I want to just highlight too, there's a domain around respect and inclusion. And I like to think of this one really as kind of cross-cutting through all of the domains of livability. So when we think about outdoor spaces, inclusion shows up in whether spaces feel welcoming and accessible to everyone. In housing, it's about ensuring that people of different income levels and abilities have options. For social participation, that there are activities where people feel invited and valued and are able to show up as their full selves. So the respect and inclusion, it's not just what we do, but it really is how we do it. And it influences how communities engage residents, whose voices are centered and at the table, and how decisions are made. So with respect and inclusion, when respect and inclusion are strong, people really feel a strong sense of belonging. There's diverse perspectives reflected in what we're doing. And then the solutions that communities are working on are more equitable and sustainable for everyone. Next slide. So we're here to talk about community gardens. I love community gardens myself. I was a member of a community garden for many, many years. And they are a great, I think, local strategy that really support multiple domains of livability. So community gardens are a great example of something that can kind of transform vacant lots or underutilized land. So sometimes we think about urban areas or rural areas that have, brown space. And these are great tools to take that brown space and make them into something that is more welcoming and productive. There's spaces where people can gather, you can spend time outside, you can make social connections with each other. From a neighborhood development perspective, community gardens really can play a meaningful role. They can increase property values, they can reduce crime and undesirable activity in certain areas. And they often serve as an early initial step to a broader revitalization effort. They also contribute to walkability and transit-oriented developments. Gardens that are really done well can become destinations themselves where people want to go. They can add vibrancy to neighborhoods and downtowns. And then on an individual level, gardening keeps people physically active. So they create, opportunities for that physical movement. So we're thinking about, planting and watering and just like the physical activity of gardening is good for us. And they create a strong sense of place. So they are outdoor classrooms. People are not only learning gardening skills, but there's opportunities to build leadership, volunteerism, to share resources, and to support one another as well. We'll go to the next slide. So I want to kind of focus in more on the health benefits. So kind of the physical health and mental health. I mentioned gardening provides that physical movement that is really good for us as we age. That physical movement contributes to improving our strength, our flexibility, balance. It's also a proven stress reliever. Spending time outside in the garden can lower cortisol levels. So that's the stress hormone we feel. It can reduce anxiety. It boosts overall mood. And more broadly, people who spend more time outdoors tend to report higher levels of happiness and well-being. Community gardens also improve access to fresh, nutritious food, especially in areas that lack affordable, healthy options. So some of the gardens that I've helped developed in past jobs have really focused on areas where there aren't where there's a little bit of a food desert. So there's not a lot of access to grocery stores. So it kind of provides access to support better nutrition. It helps people manage chronic conditions by having fresh, healthy vegetables, and it contributes to just overall community health. Social connection is another key piece for people who may be at a higher risk of isolation, loneliness. Being part of a community garden can really create a sense of belonging. It offers a lot of kind of regular routine, so you have to take care of your garden plot on a regular basis throughout the year, throughout the summer. And it can really provide somebody a sense of purpose. So you're taking care of your garden. And this is helpful, particularly for older adults who are at high risk for social isolation. I have a mother-in-law who has lived in a condo development and they have a community garden there. And when she first moved in, she had a plot herself. And then over time, she couldn't take care of it as much as she had in the beginning. And other gardeners started to help her with her plot. And then she started developing relationships with those people who were helping her, and they became friends for her. And at this point, she doesn't have a plot anymore, but people that she met through that still give her fresh vegetables during the summers. And so I think that's a really great story just to kind of show the social connections that can be made very without a lot of effort. We also want to think about when we're designing gardens to make sure that they are accessible for everyone. So this might mean having raised beds at different levels so people don't need to bend down as much. So having to get up and down or being on your knees a lot can be very wearing to somebody, regardless of age. Having seating areas where people can rest, so they're not maybe having to sit on the ground. They can have conversations, again, kind of promoting those opportunities for social connections. Having clear and stable pathways for people who have mobility challenges. You'll see the picture on the slide here is an ADA accessible garden bed. These were garden beds that AARP actually funded through our community challenge grants last year. So this is a community garden in Woodbury, Minnesota. And I actually just heard from the garden manager recently that these ADA accessible beds were the very first ones that were picked up when people could choose their plots for the summer. She said they were gone in a hot second. Signage is also super important. So, if you're going to have signage at your garden, making sure that it's easy for people to read, that's inclusive for people with visual impairments, and that's reflective of the languages that are spoken in the community as well. And even lighting, I know outdoor spaces can be a little bit tough for lighting, but we also have the ability to have solar lights, so solar powered lights at gardens these days. So making a space that really is usable for people on different schedules. And so you might have people who are working, early in the mornings, and so they want to go in the evenings and garden, or vice versa. And so how can you just help, make the space accessible, throughout those early mornings and into the evenings when there may not be as much sunlight. Next slide. Okay, and then, just kind of focusing in a little bit more on the social connection and belonging. Again, community gardens make it easy for people to interact and build relationships with each other over time, sometimes informally or just by being in the space together. And other times it's more through structured activities. So a lot of gardens, I know my community garden that I was a part of for a long time, they held regular events throughout the garden season. So there would be a spring kind of cleanup day to open up the gardens. There were community work days throughout the summer to kind of do that ongoing maintenance. And then we would have an end of year celebration. Other gardens also offer classes or workshops where they invite the broader community to get involved and to learn gardening skills. Or I've seen examples of community gardens partnering with preschools or schools, elementary schools, high schools, to get the kids into the garden as well, because it's a great intergenerational activity. I used to bring my daughter when she was a baby up until kind of toddler age, until she started running all over the garden. I couldn't manage her anymore. So having those intergenerational connections are really helpful. Um, and then there's a focus on equity and food access. So gardens play a really important role around this. Obviously, for vegetable gardens, they're providing that fresh produce that can support communities experiencing food insecurity. Um, it's also important to think about kind of the equity in terms of how gardens are structured. So again, kind of my experience was that I paid a fee every year to be a part of my community garden. I think that is pretty standard. So I think it's important to think about for community gardens, and equity is, are there sliding scale options so that people from a variety of economic backgrounds are able to participate? Or is there opportunities to waive fees altogether and fund kind of some of the financial support of the garden in another way? Another example is just, thinking about for community gardens, if you are harvesting a lot of vegetables, and kind of the Woodbury garden that I mentioned on the last slide, they do this. Their garden space has grown tremendously over the last couple of years. And so they end up having gardens that produce more vegetables than what people can take home. And so they will gather, the extra vegetables and donate it to a food shelf. There's a lot of companies in the Twin Cities that have kind of accompany community gardens on their sites, and employees will garden and then they donate that food to a community partner. So that's a way for community gardens to benefit not only the people gardening themselves, but also, impact the broader community. And when you're thinking about, how to develop and get the garden started, really focusing on designing the community garden with the community in mind. So this can be reflected in how the space is organized, how the garden is used, what's grown in the garden. We live in very diverse communities, and what I grow might not be the same thing as another neighbor. And so there's a lot of great opportunity to kind of have those cross-cultural connections around food, which is really a lot of fun. And when we're thinking about kind of the design process and including the community in that, when community members are really involved from the beginning, the garden is more likely to meet their needs and really foster a sense of belonging and ownership over the space as well. Next slide. And so this is kind of my final wrap up. AARP has a really great resource, our Creating Community Gardens Toolkit Guide. And this is an excellent resource for communities who are interested in creating a community garden. It will kind of walk you through the steps to doing it. And there's a ton of examples from different communities and how they've set up their community gardens as well. And so if you were just to Google AARP community gardens, I think it'll be the first thing that comes up, and it's a free downloadable guide. And so I can put a link in the chat for you as well, so you can access it. And then I think I'm passing it off to Georgia.
Thank you so much, Megan. That was a great foundation for our conversation today. I am delighted to introduce our regional partners who are bringing these ideas to life right here in northeastern Minnesota. We'll hear from Georgia Lane and Starr Brainerd, both with Equilibrium 3 in Duluth, and I will just quickly read their bios before I hand it off. Georgia Lane is the Director of Aging Initiatives at Equilibrium 3, bringing more than 20 years of leadership across aging services, community development, and systems-level innovation. In this role, she guides and strengthens Duluth's age-friendly initiatives, advancing a vision of communities where people of all ages can live, work, and thrive. Georgia is deeply passionate about reshaping how we think, talk, and act about aging, grounded in her belief that aging is a gift. Many of you may know Georgia from her previous work right here at the Arrowhead Area Agency on Aging, where she led regional age and dementia-friendly efforts, supported community coalitions, and advanced statewide aging priorities. Earlier in her career, she held leadership roles with Presbyterian Homes and Services, focusing on community dementia initiatives and care coordination. Georgia holds a BA in sociology from the College of St. Benedict and a master's in social work from the University of Minnesota. Joining her is Starr Brainerd, farm manager from Equilibrium Three's urban farm, located on the campus of Lake Superior College, right here in Duluth. Starr supervises a robust staff and team of AmeriCorps members to grow food and cultivate community space for education and community building. She holds a bachelor's in environmental studies from American University and was awarded a Fulbright scholarship to study organic agriculture and permaculture growing systems in Alberta, Canada. In her spare time, Starr enjoys painting and art and spending time with her husky Thor. Georgia and Starr, we're so glad to have you with us. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. And thanks, Megan, for that really great introduction. And AARP does such amazing work. The piece around gardening and stress is real. I did not plan this, but last night I went home after a long day and I just had to dig out in my bushes. I've got hostas that are popping up a little bit, and I was just doing some pruning. And after about an hour of doing that, it was just like everything was okay with the world. So I think there's, it's just a message that we know, but then when we're living it, it's really great. And then to follow that up, this morning, my sister who lives in Western Michigan sent me a picture of this most beautiful. So I was feeling really proud, but she sent me this picture of this beautiful flowering bush and everything is green there. And I thought, now you're just showing off. And so I had to send her a picture of my things that I cleaned out last night with my very we're almost getting our hostas up. So I must have needed some gardening energy in my life. And here we are this morning. So thanks to all who hopped on live and for those who are watching it later. You can go to the next slide. So a little bit about me. I'm a director of aging initiatives. I identify as a white woman, an ally. I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a community advocate, and I like to say that I'm aging with pride. I've got a lot of outdoor hobbies. I don't do a lot of gardening, but I definitely love kind of dabbling, I'll say. Traveling, music, and lifelong learning. Next slide. So I work for an organization called Equilibrium 3. I'm going to take a little bit of a detour here to share with you who we are and who we serve, because I think it's unique, and I promise that we will get back to this concept of gardening. And I'll also clarify, as will Starr, that we have an urban farm. So what this concept looks like here for us in Duluth is a little bit different from the concept of community gardening. But we are working to incorporate, the work we're doing at Equilibrium 3, incorporate the age-friendly framework, and then incorporate this work that we do around food access and growing food. So our mission at Equilibrium 3 is to lead and inspire change towards an equitable and sustainable future. That mission can hold a lot of work. We work in spaces of food access, transportation, health and aging. We work in the built environment, energy, housing, and advancing age-friendly communities. So we work at the intersections of a lot of different places, and we do this through the lenses of sustainability and equity. Next slide. We're located in Lincoln Park. It is Census Tract 156. We have about 2,700 people. And I want to share kind of a bit about our demographics in our neighborhood. Our median household income is about $30,000, which is about, I'm going to do math here on the fly, 20 plus thousand less than the average median household in Duluth. 27% of people have some type of disability versus 11% in the city overall. Our neighborhood has the lowest half of at-birth life expectancy in all Minnesota, based on health disparities. So making sure that we can have access to healthy food and healthy lifestyle things early on are definitely factors that influence our ability to age at all. And we have a 10-year less life expectancy than other census tracts in Duluth. So that's the neighborhood in which we most closely operate. Next slide. Food and nutrition, about 41% of people in our neighborhood report a barrier of getting food. 57% report that cost is a barrier. Close to 40% shop at a gas station at least once a week. 25% or a little over 1 in 4 have only 1 in 4 had 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables yesterday. And then close to 70% are overweight. And Lincoln Park does not have a grocery store. But that is coming soon. We are working on opening up a grocery store to address the food desert. Next slide. Regarding social connectedness, we also have a lot of work to do here. In our neighborhood, we see that 55% of residents report inadequate internet access for expense reasons or for the lack of skills. 20% of people feel isolated or lonely. 40% feel no sense of belonging or social connectedness. 42% say they have depression. 1 in 3 would seek mental health care if available. And then 13% only sometimes or hardly ever have transportation to see relatives or friends versus 4% in our region. So these numbers are really designed to kind of show like really the health disparities that exist in our neighborhood on a lot of different levels. Next slide. So I'm very excited to announce one of the strategies that we're using to address the food access issues is opening up a grocery store. This is right in the heart of Lincoln Park. We are hoping that this will be open sometime this summer. We're waiting on a number of permits from the city and from the state to make sure that this is open. But we know the neighborhood is very excited about this, and we think this is a really unique model and in a way to address health disparities and health inequities. Next slide. So why age-friendly, right? So I shared a lot about our neighborhood. And Meghan kind of outlined what AARP offers in front of the whole framework. But really, this age-friendly framework is where the built environment, social environment, and services help people across the full spectrum of ages and abilities. It was launched in 2006 by the World Health Organization, and as Meghan mentioned, AARP is the U.S. affiliate. So when we, 5+ years ago, looked at what's happening here with Eco3, what's happening in the neighborhood, what's our mission, being able to support and lead some of the age-friendly work really aligned with what we're doing. And so keeping an eye on the changing demographic shifts, how do we start to or continue to make changes in some of the areas where we overlap between health disparities and what the age-friendly framework is. Next slide. 8 domains livability framework. Meghan already shared this, but this is just a little bit of a take with some Minnesota branding and Duluth branding. There's a lot of intersections here that happen. And so as you can see here, the public spaces, the social participation, health services and community supports, I would say the work we do at Equilibrium 3, as well as with our urban farm, touch all of those areas. Next slide. So really our approach, everything that we do at Equilibrium 3, we don't want to think about it as a separate program, right? We don't think about, okay, how do we do certain programming specifically for older adults, right? I think that's a common model that we see where we look at aging services and it kind of lives in its own silo. In a lot of cases, that's not a bad thing. But what we're trying to do is to be able to incorporate age inclusion and age-friendly lenses into all of the work that we do. Next slide. So Duluth entered the AARP network in 2021 to kind of formally launch this commitment to be able to incorporate age-friendly lenses and age-friendly aspects into a lot of different work that we're involved with. Next slide. And here's our 5-year commitment. You can see that we are at the last phase of our 5-year piece, which is a really exciting time to step into some leadership here. to talk about what is the work that we have done, where have we made impact, and then where do we want to go in the future. Next slide. So our structure is that we are co-led. The Duluth Age Friendly Initiative is co-led by Duluth Aging Support as well as Equilibrium 3. Duluth Aging Support offers a lot of funding as well as kind of strategy and infrastructure. And then Equilibrium 3 is a little bit more kind of boots on the ground and now, kind of leading our work that we're doing going forward. We are supported by a steering committee. So our lovely friends with the Quad A are here and our steering committee helping drive the work, taking their expertise and helping us connect a lot of dots. We're working with the city and the Duluth Public Library, as well as St. Louis County Public Health and Zeitgeist Community for the Arts. Next slide. So our mission is that we really want to enhance the lives of all people. So again, not thinking about age friendly as just for older adults and older community members, but how do we build places and programs where all people can thrive? Next slide. So some good examples here of the work that we do. A lot of our foundational work is around ageism and reframing aging. So in order for folks to want to advance communities that work for all ages, we need to address some of the ageism and things that exist. We've got a number of other initiatives that we work towards, and every one of our organizations that's on our steering committee plays a part in that. So for example, we've got some, we have an age-friendly outreach specialist, which is underneath the umbrella of Zeitgeist, and they're going out and talking about all the different resources that are out there to various populations. We have some lunch and learn programs. We have a 55 plus stakeholder group. So we do lots of different things. And I just share the slide to sort of say the Duluth Age Friendly umbrella is cast wide for a reason, right? Because there's all this work that's happening in the community. And how do we influence, the work that's going on to incorporate an age friendly lens? Next slide. All right, and with that, the most exciting project that we want to highlight here today, and I'm sure this is why folks are really interested, was to learn about our Eco3 urban farm. And as I mentioned, our urban farm is not a community garden, so it's a different take on kind of the pieces that Meghan shared, but we bring in the community in some different ways to be able to share learnings, build social connection, and things like that. So with that, I will hand it off to our farm manager, Starr.
Hi, everybody. My name is Starr. I'm the farm manager at the Eco3 Urban Farm. In case anybody doesn't know, an urban farm is just a farm within city limits. So most people think of farms as rural spaces. Urban farms are just closer to the communities that they feed. And oftentimes they're quite a bit smaller because you don't have large swaths of land within the city limits. We are a production farm. We grow diversified veg. So that's like your assortment of tomatoes, cucumbers, potatoes, the things you would grow in a community garden, in your own garden. And to clarify sort of the difference between a community garden and an urban farm, there's not like a legal definition, but most community gardens, there's a space that you rent. And so there's discrete plots that like each family would rent out or borrow out for a season. Some community gardens are sort of a free take model where they're sort of everybody gardening the same space together, but you can just sort of come and take what you want. That can be a little bit more tricky to manage, but that's another model. Our farm is specifically a farm, so we're growing the food for specific avenues, which I'll get into later. So we don't have space that we rent out to the community, and we discourage people from coming and just taking whatever they want. We have specific avenues for sending the food. And we will be producing once we will open our LNPK grocery store. So we'll be funneling as much produce as we can into that Lincoln Park grocery store we're opening up. We also grow for charitable donation, so to different food access organizations in the area. And also we do some food growing for our own programming. So if we have an event, we try to grow as much of our own food as we can to feed the people coming to the event. Next slide, please. This is me. I'm the farm manager. I've been working 2 full years at Equilibrium 3, and this is my second season as the farm manager role. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a queer white woman, and my hobbies include drawing, painting, live music, both attending shows and playing, hiking, and I love my dogs. Thor got a shout out, but I also want to shout out Jupiter. She's a little Egyptian street dog, um, and they're wonderful. Next slide, please. So the sort of submission of the Eco3 Urban Farm is to strive to provide agricultural education, community building, and increased food access for our Lincoln Park and Duluth community. The food access is, I feel like, rather obvious. We grow food and we provide it, so that is food access. But in terms of agricultural education, we host workshops on gardening topics throughout the season. We do not every Saturday, but approximately every Saturday, farm Saturdays, where we do these workshops. We host community events where people can just come and gather, do farm tours. We also host volunteer groups from corporate organizations or school groups. People just come and help out because there's a lot to clean up and a lot to put together. Last year, we grew and sold over, well, we didn't sell it all, but we grew over 5,000 pounds of food, some of which was sold at the Central Hillside Farmers Market here in town. They were actually short on veggie vendors, so the host of that farmers market asked us to come and fill that space. That's another hard to food access neighborhood. And then anything that wasn't sold at that farmers market, we then donated back to Community Action Duluth, who was the host of that farmers market. We also donated to the Duluth Center for Women and Children, to the Lake Superior College Food Pantry, and other organizations. Next slide, please. So here's sort of a map of the urban farm and what it looks like. We're located on the Lake Superior College campus. So we're sort of tucked behind the different educational buildings. Initially, in 2018, there was an agricultural program at the community college there, but that got shut down. But they had all these community assets that they wanted to keep being used and keep being an asset to the community. So they put out a call for proposals and Eco3 responded. And so we now basically lease the land from the college. It's about 1.5 acres. We have roughly a third of that in production. There's also a forested area, a perennial fruit area with currants and honeyberries and gooseberries and raspberries. We have an open field we call our communal gathering space, so we can do yard games. We can have groups come out and set up tents and have picnics. So we try and have that for that social connectedness element of our mission. We have 24 raised beds as well, all of which were recently replaced, so they're a little bit more accessible than they were previously. We have on-site composting. We also do have some inoculated mushroom logs in our forested area, so getting into that third kingdom there. Yeah, I think that is all for our map and introduction of the farm. Next slide, please. So here's just our schedule of workshops we go for the season. Just want to give you sort of a taste of the different kind of education that we do. In the early season, we did grape pruning. We also did an apple pruning workshop even before this. The early things before the buds burst and before we can get into the ground. Then we talk about seed starting and garden planting. And now we're getting into specific crops and how to grow them. So our cucumbers and tomatoes, our root crops, how to grow greens. And we try to offer a wide range of educational opportunities all through the summer. Next slide. We also offer volunteer opportunities for people who just want to get their hands dirty or help out, and also just social events. For instance, our summer sampler, the real push for that is just to try the food that's being grown super locally. That's just a couple blocks away up the hill. So we have some great opportunities coming out for people just to engage with the farm, engage with each other, connect. And those are all ages. Let's see. I think we can go on to the next slide. Really couldn't do the farm without our AmeriCorps program. So AmeriCorps program is a paid federal service program that addresses a few focus areas: poverty alleviation, education, disaster response, healthy futures, environmental stewardship, economic opportunity. So that we do in partnership with the federal government. There's a couple of programs within the AmeriCorps program. One is the VISTA program, and they specifically work on capacity building and poverty alleviation. And then we also have our food corps that it does more direct service. So rather than building capacity in the organization, they're planting the veggies, getting the stuff in the ground. Currently, we have 8 food corps and 2 vistas, but this summer we're going to be really beefing up our food corps, and we're going to have 16 more people helping out, and also we'll be sending those folks out to other relevant organizations, packing food boxes, doing invasive species removal, doing everything we can, getting community members, a lot of them younger, out into the community, improving the environment. Then the farm really could not function without these folks. We're very grateful to the AmeriCorps program that we have. Next slide. So then wanted to go back to that L&PK grocery. So that is our Lincoln Park grocery store that will be opening up hopefully soon, early midsummer. We've stopped giving exact dates because the permitting and the construction process is always taking longer than we thought. But basically, based on community input, we discovered several years ago that increased food access was really one of the highest demands of the neighborhood. Increased access, a grocery store with fresh fruits and fresh vegetables specifically, was the neighborhood's top priority. This grocery store is located very centrally in the Lincoln Park Craft District. So that's a sort of the economic center of the Lincoln Park neighborhood. And we wanted to create a store where you could get your weekly shopping needs accomplished, all of your vegetable staples, grocery staples overall, including vegetables, as well as a few specialty items. And then we want to really stock up that fresh produce with stuff from the farm, having that hyper local, super nutritious, chemical free produce funneled directly to the grocery store. The grocery store is about 2 miles from the farm, so we like to say hyper local. And currently at the grocery store, we're working on the grocery store inventory, pricing. The renovations are finally done. We're working on that last permitting to come through before opening in summer. Next slide, please. So we'd like to talk about our food access ecosystem. So how we create this sort of contained ecosystem of the food. We're producing it at the farm. It is going directly to the grocery, and then anything that isn't sold within a certain amount of time is going into either cooking classes or to donations to local organizations that get it to people who are in need right away. And then if we can't get it to people before food spoils, we then make sure we're funneling it into nutrient recycling, so into composting, either composting at the farm or our local resource renew. So we're keeping it all local within the community, encouraging the community and aiding the community. And I think that is my last slide. See what we have next. Yeah, these are just some great resources. I want to shout out the Duluth Community Garden Program. I used to work for them, and if locals are looking for community garden space, they have about 20 different community gardens across the city, and lots of resources relevant to that. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Georgia and Starr and Megan. What a wonderful conversation we've had today. I have been keeping an eye on the chat and I don't see any questions, but if you have any, please put them in there and we will get them answered, and I will start to close us out, while I kind of wait for some questions, you could go to the next slide, please. All right. And next slide again. Our last webinar for this season will be on Tuesday, June 17th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it is Legal Lifelines, how individuals, care teams, and support systems can prepare for disasters. We'll be joined by Justice North Civil Legal Aid for a conversation about the legal issues that can arise when disaster strikes and what you can do now to prepare. If you're interested, you can register at our website at arrowheadaging.org. And we are taking July and August off. You can catch our next webinar in September. Follow our Facebook page or our website for announcements about our fall 2026 webinars. So move into closing. As I don't see any questions in the chat, I just want to again say thank you so much to Meghan, Georgia, and Starr for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your expertise with us today. The work you're doing to bring people of all ages together around growing and gardening is a real gift to our communities. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you. Thank you for showing up for this conversation and for your commitment to making our region a place where people of all ages can thrive. Few reminders before we go. Today's recording, including ASL interpretation, will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days. You can subscribe so you're notified when it's posted. A follow-up email will be sent to all registrants with resources from today's session and responses to any questions, if any come in that we aren't able to address. And we're always looking for ideas for future topics and speakers. So again, please send your suggestions to Brenda. She shared her email in the chat. You can always reply to that follow-up email as well with any ideas. We got lots of thanks coming in the chat, but I will close this out. Take good care. We hope to see you at our next session in June. Have a wonderful rest of your day.